So I can use this function to straighten that edge and use the skew to straighten the other one. I like this. Well, I got this television, this Hitachi rear projection television, about 1.5 years ago. It was at my neighbor's house. They had it outside for 1.5 months in the rain, and he mentioned that he had it, and I was like, yeah, sure, I'll take it. And I put it in the shed for 1.5 years to dry out, although I tested it after 1 month of drying out in one of my tarp sheds, and it had some jittering issues. Well, it still has that jittering issue. See that? Turns out all this time, it's just the TV tuner is having some weird issue to where it doesn't keep vertical sync, but the other ones work. I spent about 45 minutes messing with it today, and I kind of tested a lot of the potentiometers. Sometimes they get stuck and they cause some static, but that means I messed up the colors. Oh well. Now I notice, it looks like I brought the red up a little bit much. It was in a house that had a lot of tobacco smoke, and thankfully it doesn't smell like tobacco now. It's had plenty of time to air out, but you can see the little blotches and stuff. So let's see. I don't want to like mess this up too much, although it's a little too late for that, because I had this thing sitting over by my furnace, and this thing got so hot that it was like drooping and stuff, but it seemed to go back fine. You know, whenever you don't have much space, it's hard to salvage some things. I think some of these objects are things inside. Now, there might be something on the outside. But I opened it up, and good news. It has a lot of dust inside, meaning I don't think the circuitry had too much water on it. And I'm not noticing any real leakage of the liquid in there, which sometimes that can be a big pain in the butt. And if anyone has the remote control for one of these, please send it, because I could use it. So here's the information. It's a 50EX20B Hitachi television. Shame it's not made in Japan, but it is made in 1997. This will be great for old video games. Stuff looks much better on a CRT, and you know, some games don't even work without a CRT, like Duck Hunt. I am so chuffed about this because, well, whenever I was a kid, I found one of these around 2004 or so that, you know, like, this is not a high quality one, so this is just kind of a crappy quality one. Oh, put one screw back in, right. Now, since this is outside for a month, all of the particle board is pretty much ruined. But, you know, I think it'd be really cool to take this thing, remove all of the interesting bits, make a copy of the particle board out of my 1909 hardwood that I have so much of from that one house that I had it ripped out of, and make a nice like wooden case for it and put all the parts back onto that. So no more particle board. Alright, so there's a lot of dust on everything in here. Oh, and I just looked at it. Yeah, it looks like there's some junk in there that ran on the front screen, that Fresnel lens. And so that can be cleaned up, some of those blotches. But, let's see. Oh my god. You guys are going to kill me when you see me using brake cleaner on this, but it's all I have. I'm sorry. There's a lot of smudges on this. I assume that's tobacco smoke. Yeah, acetone might have worked better, but yeah, look at that. But yeah, whenever I was a kid, I salvaged one of these from a television repair shop that ended up going out of business later on, and as most television repair shops have. And I tried fixing it a little bit, but it was just, that one was really too far gone. So I still have some of the tubes from it and such. Yeah, that's a lot of shit. Now these are the 3 picture tubes. Look at that. How much junk's on there. Oh, yes, look at that. Now I do worry that that brake cleaner might mess up the plastic. Might be glass, actually. Wouldn't that be fancy? I've only ever seen ones that were plastic. Yeah, that's some thick stuff. Okay. So I'll get some stuff that I'm not afraid of hurting the plastic, and then we can do that. But for now, that's pretty good. Oh yeah, that's covered in stuff too. A lot of dirt. I was wondering what this was. It's the wire up against it. That makes sense. Yeah, I don't think replicating this cabinet out of nicer wood would be out of my abilities. And plus, judging how thick this was, it was made thicker so that they could use this crappy particle board stuff. But I'm certain I could actually use thinner wood if it's actually nice wood. Especially if I cut it myself, like really get the right size and make it lock together nice and solid. It'd be pretty good. See, it doesn't bother me too much that the little tuner might be out, because you don't really need a tuner anymore. It's a bit bright and flashy, isn't it? I'll switch to 60 Hertz. I normally refrain from doing NTSC 1080p 60 Hertz because, well, I would much rather have a higher bit rate and 10 less frames per second and go with 50 frames per second than 60 frames per second, because then you get more pixelation in the video. But, oh well. Some red divergence it seems. Horizontal size. Bring the image back onto screen. Now it seems like it's all skewed a bit, so I might be able to find red vertical pin, which is the center. And so pretty much you can just totally line these up. Now I've intentionally taken these and moved them apart so I can see them. So we'll have, let's see. I'm going to make them all match up. And then I'll take them and move them together. So I calibrated it for Legacy of the Wizard, and it seems that that had like a bit of a border around it. And now whenever I have just a raw video signal going to it, it is a bit off. Actually quite a bit off. But it's so difficult to configure it from down here because you can't see it from the controls. Now one thing I'm very happy about is that it has so many controls. You have red vertical skew, red vertical bow, RB size, RB length, RB key, RB U key, all these things that, you know, after fiddling with it for about 4 hours, I've gotten to the point where I can remember specifically which one's which, so I don't have to look at that chart too much. But it seems that green has less controls and red and blue have most of the controls. So you have to set the green geometry and then you have to set the red and blue to fit it. However, I'm having an issue where the screen wants to go up to that corner for blue and red, and it's kind of annoying. I believe there's a capacitor going out there, and then I'm having a hard time getting this side of the screen to line up. The middle lines up fine, but I just can't seem to get it out. So it might be a good idea to postpone this project and enjoy it how best I can get it, and then maybe eventually go through and replace some of these little capacitors that, you know, they're quite old and they might be going, who knows. You know, it almost looks like some like Evil Genius's reactor from this kind of angle, because it is quite an amazing piece of machinery. Red, green, and blue. Now thankfully I'm not noticing any leakage, because above those is some liquid. Is that? A transformer. Oh no, okay, that's not a transformer. That is a heatsink with a lot of extra heat compound on it. I was perplexed by that. But yeah, this is definitely a nice little machine. It's just a matter of trying to coerce it back into working despite the capacitors that are going bad. And I suspect I'm not the first one to be in here because some of these are really crunched over. Aha, so I can use this function to straighten that edge and use the skew to straighten the other one, so the bow. So now straighten that edge and curve and fold that edge over because it pulls it bows it like that. So, well, it's been another hour of tinkering, and I have had such a difficulty with that. This middle right here is drooping down, and this top is drooping in, so the entire thing is going that way. But I can't really pull it out because the potentiometer for pulling that back out again is already maxed out. So, and most of the potentiometers are maxed out now. However, a few of them came maxed out, so maybe it's had a history of issues, or maybe they come maxed out from the factory a few times if it's just really out of whack. But what's interesting is there are global settings, like for instance a global setting which makes the two sides bow, or you can bow that way to where the entire screen just like kind of just bends over. But then you also have just one side, so you bow it so this side's straight, and then you just adjust that side so it's level. But if the middle is weird, well then that's difficult. I'm also wondering if, I mean, this thing's been dropped off the back of a truck and stuff. I'm wondering if one of the tubes has rotated at all, because it seems the red is shifted, which is a bit of an annoyance. But I mean, it's playable and looks good in the middle. It's just not good on the edges. Yeah, so I'm going to see if I can find myself a test pattern generator, and I'm meaning a proper one where I can have like 15 different things. I can turn off the colors because I mean I can't even see the blue screen because it's just so faint, and I would need something so I can turn off all the color, and oh well. So I could select each color. I could have grids across it. I could have different colors. I could do all sorts of things instead of just trying to do it with an image. And I might also make a longer cable for this, because then I could actually tune it from far away, and I could actually see the darn image, because the Fresnel lens that they have on here doesn't allow you to actually see the image while you're tuning it. Look at that. This thing is just destroyed. It's clear that this television was not made to very high standards, but oh well. Definitely putting off a lot of heat. 150 watts, which isn't actually all that bad. But you know, I think I'm going to save the cleaning up the circuit board for later, whenever I decide to take it out and replace some of the capacitors. Because it still works good enough to play games on, and my crazy idea is what if I took this television and hoisted it up into the rafters up there so I could play NES games leaning back, looking up? I don't know if you could see the game well enough from below, but if not, I could play it from my loft, which is at the same height. It'd be kind of cool. I could play it really far away. I don't know, just an idea. However, eventually it will go into my attic whenever we turn that into an actual room, because it'll be a game room. But that'll be once I get the replacement wood for it and all that. I bet like 3/8 plywood would be stronger than this and lighter. The wheels are entirely messed up. I can't even roll it back. So I will use my hoist. Evidently, it's like 10 degrees cooler outside because the storm's coming in. But I spent a half hour cooling off, and it's still there, so that gives me some confidence. darn pipe's in the way. Well, I am thinking about removing the stove from this workshop, and whenever I rebuild the brick shed, the furnace will go in there, and I'll pump the hot air into the workshop, and so I won't have to have the wood stove in here. So I could conceivably get rid of that. Yeah, that's just not gonna go.
So close.
Inch and a half.
Oh,
But
man.
I wouldn't want that touching this anyway, so
No.
yeah, that's not gonna work. Well, guys, there's been a change of plans. It's a bit too high if it was going to sit on there, and I would have to remove the ducting for the furnace, which I do plan to remove anyway. But I just don't feel like removing the stovepipe right now. And I think it'd be better to have a 2x4 mounted sideways to allow it to be lower, and that way I could have a better view of it. And I still want it to be like an evil lair main monitor type thing. So I'll just go screw some boards in, and that should be good enough. So I'm standing on the television and it's not having any issues. So that's good. This workshop is becoming so absurd. I think I have attained maximum sketch factor with this mounting job, but whenever I get my rope out, I'm going to cut some lengths and lash some rope around both sides just for backup, you know. And if this was near a place where I was underneath a lot, I would not be putting that there. But it's on the back of the workshop where it's just for storage, and so I'm not going to be underneath it hardly at all. But I am quite happy with it, and it's surprisingly sturdy. Now the question is, what should I display on it? I don't even know anymore. Look at that! I like this. This workshop is just becoming like the weirdest little workshop of my dreams, I guess. If only it was bigger, but it's just becoming so quirky, you know? It's pretty funny. So yeah, it's a little bit of a sketchy hookup, but it works, so I can't complain. And it's not like it's being torqued at all. I'll wrap some rope around there and that'll help. Oh well. But this helps open up a lot of room, and now I have the back door, like, because the TV was up against the back door, and now I can go out the back door again. Look at that. I can get little parts from my scrapyard here, my little mini scrapyard, which is really helpful. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and thank you very much for watching. See ya. This thing just, it makes me giggle even seeing it, because it's just so hilarious. I don't know.